playoff committee will do it horribly wrong, which is why we are here to do it right. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys, here with our Week 11 GE Top 25. The season is flying by, only a few more weeks until Selection Sunday, but we are here with our official Top 25 rankings heading into this next weekend of college football. As always, please continue to like, to comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including the expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. We are on a whopping 62-29 run against the spread. Yes, 62-29 run against the spread. Better than every other handicapper out there, better than anybody else you're going to find. We have one of the best prices anybody you're going to find for a full year-long subscription. So you buy now, you get through November of next year. It's one of the best deals in the entire country, and we're giving you some of the best picks in the entire country. Win big with us today. Go sign up before our Week 11 picks are released. Become part of our GE Nation. So let's take a look at our rankings, guys. We're not going to delay any further, right? We'll dive into it. We've got 25 teams to break down here and a handful of changes I'm sure will not spark any disagreement whatsoever in the comments. But the top 3 teams in our rankings remain unchanged. We still believe Michigan is the best team in the country. Sign stealing or not, forget about it. We're not here to talk about that. Michigan has been the best and most dominant, most efficient, most complete team all year long in our eyes, and that's why they remain at number 1. Huge test, though, coming up this weekend against Penn State. That'll be a huge test marker for Michigan, especially with the game being in Happy Valley. But they beat Purdue 41-13. Georgia remaining right behind them at number 2. Big win over number 12 Missouri, beating them 30-21 in Athens. And then Florida State right behind Georgia, winning at Pittsburgh 24-7. Not the most impressive win in the world for Florida State. They haven't really been blowing teams out of the water per se, but do have a relatively impressive resume, do have some solid wins, have been very complete across the board as well. So they remain in the top 3. Washington comes into our top 4. Have not been impressed with Washington against Arizona State and Stanford, but it was a big win on the road at USC that propels them there. Look, they're surviving, right? They've got an impressive win over Oregon. That's a big, big win. Now they've got a road win over a ranked team in USC. That's a big, big win, beating them 52-42 in a game that had virtually no defense, but Washington actually dominating on the ground, and their defense making just a few plays, such as that big strip sack on Caleb Williams to end the first half, to get them the win. So Washington into our top 4, the lone undefeated team remaining in the Pac-12, but a very difficult schedule coming up with games against Utah, Oregon State, Washington State, and then the Pac-12 championship against whoever that may be, more than likely going to be Oregon, who comes in at number 5 for us, right behind Washington, beating California 63-19. Look, I don't want to play Oregon, right? If you are any team in college football, you do not want to play Oregon. The Ducks are unbelievable. Could make an argument they are the best team in the country. That one loss to Washington coming by just 3 points in the final seconds. The Ducks are playing really, really, really good football right now, and they look like a playoff team. And I'll tell you right now, if you had to make me pick between Washington and Oregon right now, I'd be picking Oregon. I will tell you that. And maybe we'll get the opportunity for a rematch here in a few weeks. Ohio State drops a few spots in our rankings. You may say, why? Why? They're undefeated still. They're playing good football. They've got an impressive resume. The Notre Dame win is not looking nearly as good as it did a few months ago. Notre Dame win not looking that good. And they got the win over Penn State, which is solid, but we'll see what happens this Saturday. Look, Ohio State got outplayed by Rutgers. Plain and simple. And that's why they dropped a few spots, right? A win's a win's a win, but the Buckeyes were outplayed and should have lost that game to Rutgers despite winning 35-16. If it was any other team, I think Ohio State does lose. Rutgers was held to 3 field goals all inside the Ohio State 5-yard line. All inside the Ohio State 5-yard line. Those are touchdowns. Rutgers wins the game. If Rutgers does not throw a 93-yard pick 6 early in the second half, on top of scoring touchdowns there, they do not lose the game. Ohio State does not win the game. Ohio State was outgained. They were significantly outrushed. Rutgers rushed for over 230 yards in the game. It was not an impressive performance from the Buckeyes, who are apparently the committee's number 1 team. They dropped 2 spots for us to number 6, so they've got time to make it up. They've got that Michigan game at the end of the year. They beat Michigan, it's all forgiven. They're looking great. They're going to the playoffs. But right now, Ohio State, to me, despite being undefeated, did not impress me against Rutgers. The Notre Dame win in the final second, not really looking all that great. The best win on their resume right now is Penn State, the same Penn State team who struggled mightily against Indiana. Not sold on the Buckeyes as of right now, although that can change with time. Texas, Alabama, Penn State all remain unchanged in our rankings. Alabama taking down LSU. Texas surviving Kansas State in overtime. Penn State defeating Maryland 51-15, so a bit of a bounce-back game for the Nittany Lions, who really They own Maryland. Let's be honest. They do own Maryland. And then Ole Miss. We were not thrilled with the committee putting them in the top 10. We had them as a fringe top 10 team, but not in there because of the teams that lost ahead of them, such as Notre Dame, such as Oklahoma, who we'll get to in a second. Ole Miss does crack our top 10, beating Texas A&M 38-35. Very slim hopes of winning the SEC West still alive. They really needed LSU to win that game. They didn't. But the slim hope still alive for the Rebels to win the division, regardless of our top 10 team surviving A&M in the final minutes as well. Second column over here, we've got Louisville. It's kind of crazy to see Louisville and Kansas in our top 12. This isn't basketball, believe it or not. It's football. The Cardinals beating Virginia Tech 34-3. Dominant at home. Louisville is such a dominant team at home. And look, there's a legitimate possibility the Cardinals could be 11-1 entering the ACC championship game against Florida State. And that's where things could get interesting when it comes to the playoff. What if Louisville wins out? What if they win out and their only loss is to a really bad Pittsburgh team? Can the Cardinals get into that top 4? It's going to be interesting. Very interesting to see what the committee does there. We've got them on the outside looking into the top 10, but they do move up because of the impressive victory on top of teams losing ahead of them. Cardinals in at 11. Kansas in at 12, up 5 spots, following their big 28-20 win on the road at Iowa State. Not an easy place to play. The Jayhawks keeping their Big 12 title hopes alive. It's been a remarkable run, truly. They followed up that big-time win over Oklahoma with a big-time win on the road against Iowa State. Jayhawks are playing really, really, really good football right now, and their hopes for a Big 12 title very much are still alive. They skyrocket in the rankings, again, largely due in part to the teams that lost ahead of them, but on top of an impressive victory as well. Same can go for Oklahoma State. Cowboys are up to number 13. Following their win over number 9, Oklahoma, 27-24, and what could be the final bedlam. The final bedlam between the Sooners and the Cowboys could have been the last meeting between the two as Oklahoma set to leave for the SEC. Oklahoma State gets the last laugh, beating them by 3. They're on a roll right now, guys. They beat Kansas State. They beat Oklahoma. They beat Kansas. They're looking really, really good. The only reason Oklahoma State's not above Kansas right now, that loss to South Alabama, still not great. 33-7 home loss there. Also the fact that Kansas was 17th in our rankings last week. Oklahoma State, just 22nd, had a long ways to go. We couldn't justify jumping the Cowboys over the Jayhawks. Both had that similar victory over Oklahoma, but regardless, right next to each other, where they deserve to be, it'll work itself out. But the Cowboys in the top 15, once left for dead, following that loss to the Jaguars, now playing some of the best football of any team in the country and tied for first in the Big 12. Outside of that, Oregon State and Utah both up 5 spots. Again, really neither team getting a very impressive victory over their opponent. Oregon State beating Colorado, Utah beating Arizona State, but benefiting from a lot of losses ahead of them. Air Force lost. Air Force now out of our top 25 after losing in dominating fashion to a bad Army team. So you see Air Force lose, you see Missouri, you see LSU, Oklahoma, Notre Dame all lose. That benefited a lot of teams that were behind them, such as Kansas, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Utah. They're all up, all into the top 15. Missouri, for us, only dropped 2 spots. You go on the road to a number 2 Georgia team that's been playing lights-out football for the last 2 years, and they only lose by 9, had a chance to go take the lead with under 8 minutes left. Missouri gave it their all. They played a really, really good game. They didn't get blown out. They weren't dominated. They weren't pushed around. So I don't justify taking Missouri, who we had at 14th, and spiraling them down to like number 20 or something like that. That was a very valiant effort. And Missouri's only 2 losses were by 10 points to LSU, only 10 points because of a late pick 6, had a chance to go win it in the final seconds, and then by 9 points to Georgia, again, a game that was a 6-point game up until about 4 minutes left when Georgia kicked the game winning the ceiling field goal to put them up by 9. Missouri's been playing really good ball, and they don't deserve to plummet. They're at 16. Oklahoma, they did deserve to plummet. You lose to Kansas, and you follow that up with a loss on the road to Oklahoma State. Yeah, they're down to number 17. They're out of the college football playoff race. Unfortunately for you Sooner fans and for Brent Venables, it's been a relatively disappointing year. You survive Texas, you're looking good, and you lose on the road to Kansas, and you lose on the road to Oklahoma State. And now your playoff hopes are done. And it's really, really unfortunate to see the Sooners, though, dropping 7 spots in our rankings. That win over Texas still holding a little bit of weight there. LSU dropping 5 following their road loss to Alabama, losing to the Crimson Tide 42-28. You hated to see Jaden Daniels go out with that concussion, or at least he's in concussion protocol. Was lighting up the Alabama defense. Who's to say maybe he would have led that comeback, that interception that he threw right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, allowed Alabama to go up 14. Maybe he would have led them on a couple more touchdown drives. Maybe he wouldn't have. But regardless, you do hate to see him go out. LSU, though, dropping 5, losing by double digits on the road to Bama. Now the 3rd loss of the year for the Tigers. Tulane dropping a spot, only beating ECU 13-10. Look, Tulane's cutting it close, and they've got it, man. They've got the biggest lead. They are the front runner to make a New Year's Six bowl game. So if you're Tulane, don't screw up. You nearly lost to Rice last week. You barely beat ECU, one of the worst teams in the American this week. You've got to wake up because you are so far ahead of all the other Group of 5 teams. You just keep winning. You're a lock. You're going back to a New Year's Six bowl game. But you lose to a team like ECU, you lose to a team like Rice, you lose to someone bad and much more inferior than you. You're done. You're out of there, especially with 2 losses. So Tulane, be careful. You drop a spot. You're number 19, but you are the front runner. Hold on to it. Tennessee up 4 spots, mostly largely in part to the teams that lost ahead of them. Beat UConn 59-3. Huge game coming up though against Missouri. Bigger game really for Tennessee than Missouri, because if the Volunteers can beat the Tigers, they'll set up a massive showdown, maybe for the SEC East title against Georgia in Knoxville. So keep an eye on that one. We'll have predictions for that game coming out later this week. Arizona is in our top 25. Final 5 teams here real quick. Arizona cracks the top 25. They annihilated number 19 UCLA 27-10. The Wildcats are not only bowl eligible for the first time under Jedd Fisch, but they've won 3 straight games against ranked opponents. They dominated Washington State back when the Cougars were ranked. They survived Oregon State, and they annihilated UCLA. They're playing really good ball. They're 6-3. Those are some impressive victories. Arizona and Jedd Fisch in at number 21. Ahead of Notre Dame, another 3-loss team who just hasn't looked good this year, guys. They lose to a bad Clemson team. They get annihilated on the road against Louisville. Lose at the last second to Ohio State. A heartbreaking season for the Fighting Irish, who had playoff aspirations, now down to 3 losses already this year. They plummet 11 spots to number 22. James Madison moving up, still undefeated, but can't go bowling, can't play for a championship. It's a sin by the NCAA. What else is new? But the Dukes are 9-0, beat Georgia State 42-14, up to number 23. Fresno State and Liberty cracking our top 25 for the first time this year, or at least Fresno State back in the top 25, Liberty for the first time this year. The Bulldogs beat Boise State 37-30. Don't look now, Fresno State is 8-1. They do have an outside shot of a New Year's Six bowl game. I would say Fresno State's the front runner once or if Tulane loses. Tulane's out. Fresno State, I think, has the best shot to make a New Year's Six bowl out of the Group of 5 teams. They're in at 24. Liberty will not make a Group of 5, or will not make a New Year's Six bowl game, but we're giving the Flames some credit. They beat Louisiana Tech 56-30. They're 9-0, undefeated, not just in year 1 under Jamie Chadwell, but also in year 1 in the Conference USA. Give the Flames some love. Give the Group of 5 some love. Put them in the top 25. The committee might not do it, but we here at the Gridiron Expert will. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Week 11 GE Top 25. Leave your rankings and your thoughts down in the comments below. Let us know what you think. We've got a massive weekend of college football on deck. Going to see a handful of upsets. Going to see a lot of shakeups, not just from the committee, but also from us. A few weeks out from Selection Sunday, and a lot of changes and a lot of football left to be played. So once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including these expert picks over on thegridironexpert.com. Go sign up for those today. You do not want to miss out on those guaranteed winnings and one of the best deals in the entire country. A 62-29 run. You're not going to find anybody else giving you those type of numbers, guys. Go sign up and win big with us today. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.